Hello guys, I wanted to talk with you today about the New York Times recently publishing that they have confirmed that the Hunter Biden laptop is real. This was part of a larger article that talked about Hunter Biden and something relating to his taxes. But this particular story, originally posted by, originally done by the New York Post, was a really big deal in 2020. And I remember right about the time when I started this channel that this was a big deal, because it's election meddling at the very least, and it's social control, and it's manipulation from these social media sites. So the main offenders were, or maybe the only two offenders, were Facebook and Twitter. So Facebook. So the original laptop contained a series from the content itself. So first of all, the laptop allegedly contained. The New York Post reported that it contained a series of photos of him in let's say compromising positions, and it also contained emails with some Ukraine. I think it was either emails with a Ukrainian energy company, or no, he already sat on the board of a Ukrainian energy company. But I think it was conversations with a Chinese bank. I also heard that it was confirmed that he was taking money from Burisma, which is some kind of energy company in Ukraine. It's between the Ukraine and China. I know that there was talk of Chinese banks paying Hunter too, and so why this was significant at that time was because it seemed clearly politically motivated, and it's already been well established, the opinion on the right, that Silicon Valley and the entertainment industry are already against them and already lean left. So this seemed like one more example of a liberal bias in media. And of course, it's not like, so Facebook and Twitter, what they claimed was that this story was unverified. We're talking, it was 2 weeks out from the election, maybe 3. Very, very close, just around the corner. Everything's heating up. The debates are going on, and so Facebook, they decide to tank the New York Post story in the algorithm. So they make sure to lower it so it's not as easy to see, so it's not as available, and then and then they also banned it from being direct messaged. So not only was it harder for you to see the story on Facebook, but it was also you couldn't direct message it. So that's what Facebook was doing, and then Twitter outright banned the sharing of the post. Twitter outright banned the ability to send a link to the New York Post story, which the New York Post story, which I believe is one of, if not the oldest, newspaper in the country. So it's remarkable that they would. So now the New York Post confirmed it, and at this point I'm at a loss why they have, but I have a hunch that it was politically inconvenient to acknowledge it at the time, and all this time later, they decided that they're finally ready to acknowledge it. But the damage is done. I mean, not to say that necessarily it would have affected the outcome of the election, although the election was much closer than people would have you believe. I mean, we're talking about some 45,000 votes in Arizona, Georgia, and Wisconsin, and we could have been talking about a whole different election. So, or a whole different outcome. So anyway, but yeah, so maybe it could have had an effect. Maybe it could have changed how the 2020 election turned out. Yeah, I suppose it's possible. The important fact, the fact of the matter is that Facebook and Twitter are certainly not any kind. I mean, these are the public squares of today. You know, this is where people interact. This is where people communicate. And you have these authoritarian companies masquerading themselves as a democratic, free, like that. They're a place of social engagement. They're a community. This is where people can express thoughts, open discussion and dialogue. But you have these authoritarians on the top who are micromanaging and trying to twist political outcomes based on when it's convenient. In this case, it was convenient to bury a story that would have been damaging to Joe Biden because of his son, his lifestyle, as well as his, most importantly, of course, his deep corruption, both in Ukraine and potentially in China as well. Like I said, I'm pretty sure that it had to do with Chinese banks, but of course, it was also. He also has issues with. He also has issues with corruption in Ukraine. So, it was a very dirty play by Facebook and Twitter, and they have lost. I mean, they're losing. They're losing. I don't know. Well, okay, I can't say that they're necessarily losing people too much, but I know that Facebook has certainly lost some relevance, and they're losing relevance as far as people used to trust these places more as a source for news, and I sure hope that that's changing. But anyway, so for some reason, New York Times decided that this was the appropriate time to release this, and but again, so it's just another sign of how the media is, clearly leans liberal in their bias and can shift on a dime to bury a major story about the presidential candidate's son and his corruption and political ties to Ukraine and China, just weeks before the election, So, you really can't blame Trump supporters for feeling that that the world is out to get them, and how Trump must probably feel that too, despite his having chosen this path. But so anyway, it's unfortunate that we're even having to discuss it at this point. But the story is not in the content of the laptop as much as it is in the suppression of the content of the laptop, despite having been confirmed by the New York Post, and when it's politically convenient, then confirming it, and then it's unfortunate. Anyway, thank you guys.